Hi, David.
Hi, Karat.
Tell me, what is risk attitude and why does it matter?
Attitude is an interesting word. It's used in a number of different settings. We talk about people's attitudes that they adopt towards a particular situation or issue. But actually the word attitude comes from a different environment. It comes from flight. Actually, we talk about attitude of aeroplanes or of spacecraft or even of submarines in the water. Attitude is about the positioning of your craft in relation to something, in relation usually to the horizon or to the sun or to the bottom of the ocean. So you choose how to position your aircraft. If let's take planes. The pilot chooses the attitude. And the reason I choose to tip my plane this way and not this way is for a reason. I want to travel in this direction. If I wanted to go that way, I would choose a different attitude of the plane. It would go this way. And so an attitude is a chosen position adopted in relation to a reference point in order to achieve a goal. Now, we use the same idea when we're thinking about human attitudes. A human attitude is a chosen position towards something in order to achieve a goal. So if we're talking about risk attitude, a risk attitude is a chosen position towards risk in order to achieve a particular objective. And it's important for us to see right at the beginning that risk attitude is chosen. Risk attitude is also variable. So if we talk about the range of possible risk attitudes, it's actually a continuous variable. So you can be a little bit more or a little bit less at each one of these points. But generally we speak about a risk attitude spectrum that varies from people who choose to be really really against risk. They hate it, they don't want it at all. We have a word for this, we call it risk averse. Risk averse people don't want any kind of risk at all. They will take any steps not to be exposed to risk.
They're the conservative types.
Exactly. And you can be strongly risk averse or medium or slightly risk averse because it's variable.
Right.
At the other extreme, we have people who love risk. They really enjoy it. It gives them a thrill. It gives them a buzz. That's called risk seeking. They will take risks all the time in order to achieve that buzz, that excitement and that thrill. And then in between, and you can be very risk-seeking or slightly risk-seeking, there's a spectrum. In between, you have people who are risk-tolerant. It doesn't really bother them either way. They're quite stable. So a little bit risk-taking, a little bit risk-seeking, a little bit risk-averse. They're, on the whole, it doesn't matter so much. And then there's a fourth risk attitude, which is called risk-neutral, which tends to take a longer-term view of risk. It says, I'll take risk, I'll be risk-seeking in the short term as long as there's a payoff in the future. So you're prepared to take risk now in order to save risk later. So you have this risk attitude spectrum, deeply risk-averse, highly risk-seeking, ranging down to meet in the middle at risk-tolerant. Now the question is, where are you on the risk attitude spectrum? And the answer is, I'm not in one place. My position on the spectrum varies with the situation. So maybe for my financial investments, I'm quite risk averse. I don't want to bet my money for my pension in an area where I might lose it all. I want to invest in somewhere that is safe. So I'm risk averse. I don't want risk in my investments. When I talk about raising my children, maybe I'm also a little bit risk averse. I want to keep the children safe, but also I want to expose them to some new experiences. So I might be somewhere in the middle. But then when I think about my leisure pursuits, what I love to do is to, let's say, go surfing or go rock climbing. And I take a little bit more of a risk when I'm in my private leisure activities. So it turns out that my risk attitude is variable depending on the situation. And I can choose where to be. So you may have
depending on your interest.
Exactly, and on the situation. So it may be that I have a preference. So you say to me, you are about to be promoted. Out of being responsible for a small team, I'm going to put you in charge of the whole department. And your immediate response is to be scared. Maybe for me, this is my response. I say, oh, I'm worried about that. I'm risk averse. I'm not sure I ought to take this promotion. Am I really up to the job? You know, maybe I can't do it. And then I realize if I go into the job with that attitude, it won't help.
Right.
that it will stop me taking advantage, that I won't be able to make good decisions, I won't be able to motivate people and involve them. I need to choose a different attitude. I need to choose to be a bit more risk-seeking than I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
But because risk attitude is variable and chosen, I can change it. So I can say, in order to achieve success in this promotion, I need to be more risk-seeking than I usually am. And then I can act in a different way. So risk attitude is variable, and it's changeable, and it's chosen. Now, why does that matter? When we come to risk attitude in business or in projects, the choice that we make to take more risk or take less risk will determine how we respond to risks. Whether we take an aggressive response and seek to avoid threats and exploit opportunities, or whether we take a safer response, maybe we just reduce the threats and try to enhance the opportunities, or maybe we just do nothing and we just accept them if we're more risk tolerant. So the attitude that we choose will affect the way that we behave towards risk. Attitudes shape behavior. But the reason that the pilot chooses to put the plane like this, chooses this attitude, is to go here. The reason that I choose a particular risk attitude is to achieve an objective. So if I find that in my project I need to take more risk in order to, let's say, develop a new product, or to deliver an aggressive time frame, or to make sure we are competitive, then I may need to choose a different risk attitude in order to change my risk management behavior in order to achieve the objective. So it's important because it influences our behavior. But because risk attitude is variable and chosen, then I can do that if I understand what my base risk attitude is and what the required risk attitude is to achieve the goal.
Thank you so much for the very well put explanation.
You're welcome.